You're listening to a Broken Reel Media production. This is the Something's Wrong Here podcast.
Sorry, Brian and I were making a bet. Yeah.
We're betting now.
Wager.
A wager.
It's a secret.
As long as it's not online, that's not legal.
Ancient Chinese secret.
No, this is an offline. It's an IRL bet.
That's an IRL.
So here's my thing. I'm assuming they're betting on that one of us is probably going to do something.
Probably. I'm gonna guess it's me since I'm the new guy.
Hey, thanks, Randy. I'm Ken-Zee.
So,
Brian, who are you?
Like I said, this is a Something's Wrong Here podcast. I am Randy.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Ken-Zee.
And we have a guest in the studio tonight, and you are...
I am not Ken-Zee. I am Dave.
Well, we've got Dave in the studio tonight. And just to get started, I do want to list off some citations. I've got pewresearch.org, lgbtqmap.org,
Oh, nice.
businessinsider.com, newyorkfed.org, cnbc.com, and finance.yahoo.com. So that's the first time we've listed any citations because we are going to do something tonight that everybody recommends not to do.
We're going to talk about Jesus.
That's on brand for us, I think.
Rule number one, we all know rule number one.
Don't die.
Don't die.
That helps.
Rule number two is
Can't talk about anything.
don't talk about politics or religion with your friends. So we decided to do both of them together and throw it in. Tonight's episode is going to be about the current state of religion and its role in politics.
I'm a train, so safety third, not your same rule.
Just saying.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know how smart we are, but let's just let it roll and see what happens.
Should be interesting.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting. So yeah, we are basically breaking the number one rule of, especially amongst people that you claim to like.
We're doing it in good faith.
I'll just move this away from me so I don't catch fire.
Good faith. For real. Don't catch me on fire.
Do you have the fire extinguisher available?
This is good faith. Hey, we're trying to have a conversation.
This commercial studio has sprinklers and everything in it with a
very,
production
very
staff
safe.
that is ready to respond to all emergencies.
Very safe.
Thank you all to all of you behind the camera.
That's correct. There's a fireman right back there.
Do you think our viewer
Is there a
will
fire
know
hose
that
on the
there's
door
no
jamb?
one back
Our
there?
security guards got the...
Does your mom know we don't have a production staff?
She does.
Okay.
Our one fan knows.
Almost
So we're not
just
fooling
We
anybody.
do have a production staff of one.
Yeah.
Of one.
Of one.
It's a fine editor, producer, engineer.
A true unicorn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome, man. You deserve it.
Thank you.
I appreciate you as a coworker.
Yeah. I mean, shouldn't we have like coworker appreciation day and like employee of the month around here?
I say that
No,
all.
because that's some stupid thing. But
I say
what
that all
will
the
tell
time
you
at work, and everybody thinks I'm fucking with them.
I
Like,
think
what do
my
you mean?
picture
no,
should be
really,
like
I
right
just-
here.
Now that we're getting into this podcast episode for real,
Host of the week.
I will tell you I have my faith in you.
Oh
Ooh,
God.
glad somebody does.
Thoughts and prayers.
Put my mic away.
Thoughts and prayers.
It could
So-
catch fire if it's too close to them.
In 2023, 68% of Americans identify as Christians, and that's down from 87% 50 years ago. Only 55% of people between 18 and 29 identify as Christians, where 77% over the age of 65.
Yep.
So religion is basically losing its appeal with the youth. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons going into that. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I don't know if it's popularity, if it's attention spans.
I'll start with an idea, and it reaches back probably 150 years. And everybody likes, like, Nietzsche's a nice whipping boy for antiquity and classics. And they also have used because he said God is dead. He famously said God is dead. Mm-hmm. And one of the real frequent interpretations I hear are from people that are, practicing Christians now. They seem to somehow think that he was making this comment about God referred to in the Bible, the Father of Jesus, that is dead. I don't think that. I don't think that very much at all. I think what he said was, granted, this is when the Industrial Revolution was starting, technology was starting to take off in the world, and the reliance on the church as the main central source of morality hadn't died off much, but I think he saw the writing on the wall in that we were going to stop looking for something otherworldly for moral direction. Maybe technology was becoming God. Science was becoming God. Now, granted, 20 years later, he died crazy in a mental asylum, so maybe there's not much validity in my idea. But
I'm putting all my faith in this guy.
As a societal idea, it was just somebody that saw, okay, something's missing that's been there forever. and it's been a long, precipitous drop since then.
Well, I think there's an evolution of religion in general, Christianity being a subset of that, where you go back to the pre-industrial revolution. We're all living in basically the frontier, and we didn't have much to occupy our minds and time.
It's true.
And so you had this text that's been around for millennia, and most homes had a Bible, and that's kind of how life was structured. I mean,
so basically got pounded into your head because that's all you had.
Well, and also that's one of the only books that a house would have.
Correct.
This is not when you could probably do a good study on this if you looked at census records from the 1850s to the 1880s. I mean, they said whether or not you could read or write, and it's not uncommon to have whole sheets where nobody can read or write.
Ken-Zee said, "Fuck it, I'm out on this."
You want my thought?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
What's your thought?
All right. Practice what you preach.
Yeah, that's it.
So a lot of hard, dark questions. And these are the ones that people like to deflect, not answer, not talk about, not comment, not click your thumbs up button on.
Mm-hmm.
Who would Jesus bomb? Let's start there.
Can I answer that?
No, not yet.
Yes. Okay.
I want to also go
I
forward
want to
with,
hear that.
let's play the Bible out. I believe the commandments are, to an extent, a good set of rules. It tells you a good idea of how to live. Don't fuck your neighbor's wife.
moral
Don't
base,
kill
right?
people.
Speaking of that one's really specific compared to all the other ones. Like somebody was in there like, hey, by the way, because the Bible was written by men.
Don't bang your wife, man.
Some
Don't
dude
bang
was
your dude's
getting
wife.
his wife railed by the neighbor. Like, hey, can you throw in? Don't.
Are you kidding me? Girl Next Door came from back then. They were chiseling out like pictures of like what was happening, man. It was cave paintings were graphic.
Right. Keep going.
Practice what you preach, though. Where does capitalism fit in with the Bible and the teachings of Christ? And the only reason that I ask that is it's selfless. It's be selfless. If that's the case, how do we have poor people? How do we have starving people? How do we have billionaires?
How do we have mega churches?
And how do we also not open the doors for these people that need help in the times of most need? I have no fear, personally.
It interrupts the flow of money.
I'll ask right now. Where the fuck you at, Joel Osteen? You want to come talk? Come talk. Come answer the question while you're driving supercars and you can't open the doors for the people that need help. Because right now I hear about all the bullshit left and right. Oh, there's $750 only for people in New York. Whatever. I don't know what's going on to every extent out in West Virginia, out in North Carolina, out in the areas that got hurt. But what I do know is that is an area that believes in God.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that that's an area that's going to get fucking wrecked financially by companies, big companies that sponsor our fucking sports fields that are going to go, oh, we don't cover acts of God.
Yeah.
Great. Now I just want to hear Dave respond to that because I think he's got answers.
Well,
Moving the mic away.
Yeah. Who would Jesus bomb? Jesus would not use bombs. He just wouldn't.
That doesn't make sense.
Speaking of that, I have not read
bombs.
through all of the Bible, but is it true that God has killed hundreds more than Satan has?
So I don't know if I don't know if there's any scriptural references to Satan killing people.
I think there was 2.
Okay, well I'll believe you on that if that's indeed. I have read the Bible actually.
I read something where God had multiple children killed for making fun of a bald man.
Okay, I'll buy that.
This is a Randy joke.
I don't know if it's true. I'm asking you.
Well, here's the thing:
this is the same banger of a book that has the kid get cut in half to settle a.
He didn't. That was to prove a point, but no. Nobody got cut in half.
But they fire away.
This is the reason that the numbers that you just quoted are the numbers that you just quoted. Is there's a lot of really, really dark and bad shit, especially in the Old Testament.
Oh yeah.
And it's something that, when you talk about the Bible is written by man, no question about that. No question about that. These men were inspired by God. They were godly men. They believed in God, but they had a perspective on the world that went into those writings.
Yeah.
The inerrancy and infallibility of Scripture that has seeped into the Western culture in the past century is not accurate. The Bible was not it was not transcribed by the authors from God. God did not say, in the beginning, write this shit down. No, wait a minute. God, not I.
The rumbly voice would have been pretty dramatic.
No swearing on this episode. It's about church.
That's
Cussing is okay. No
we
swearing.
are cussing.
Cussing is fine.
Do not take the Lord's name.
No cursing either. Dang it!
All right, I'll bring it back.
So
curse you.
let's start there. Is there's a lot of dark stuff in the Old Testament, and this goes to what religion has done over and over and over and over again. Religion is a man-made thing. They've taken this darkness and they've used it as a cold cudgel against whatever perceived enemy they had. Yep. And so you look at the Canaanites, who were evil in God's eyes, right? Mm-hmm. Well, were they? Because God loves everybody. That I do know. Yep. God cares about every single life that is on this planet. I truly believe that. But when you have men, and I say men because I mean men are the ones that have been doing this. Yeah. Men have controlled religion for most of recorded history.
They still do.
They do mostly.
Majority sense, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you look at what's in the Old Testament in that light. You've got the victors get to write the history.
Yeah, they know shit. That goes all through history for a lot of things.
There you go.
Always the winner.
It's always that way. The winners always write the.
Right.
It doesn't matter, Bible or not. Right. That's just how it goes.
Right. So I mean that's. I think that's part of what's going on with the decline in people is you said it. Practice what you preach, and we don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
No one does. Everyone's a hypocrite.
It's way easier to see
everyone lies.
Too.
Correct. But it's how do you every day I'm only going to speak for my own personal experience because that's all I can speak about when it comes to religion, and I don't believe in religion. I am a follower of Christ. You can call me Christian if you want. I think that's become a term that's been a little maligned, I think, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Because there's some Christians doing some really shitty stuff to people.
Even back in the day, they called them crusades.
Correct. Yeah.
That's just a fancy name for slaughter, right?
That is correct.
Are you getting a feeling that Ken-Zee's just like got a quiver full of arrows to launch at religion in general?
And that's okay. And that's fine. You know what? I think every arrow that's being fired is legitimate. These are legitimate points.
You sad?
Kind of want to give you a
hug. More legitimate points?
No, they're legitimate points.
You want another arrow from the quiver?
As a follower of Christ, my view of Christianity is this is a relationship between myself and my Creator, and in my world, I am a Christian, so I believe that Christ came to save humanity from their sin. Now, there's been many very knowledgeable, much more knowledgeable scholars than I say it's not necessarily just through Christ. The Creator, we can't fathom the entity that built everything we see. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're in this glorious studio, which is amazing, by the way. But the Earth is just this little fucking dot in this massive ecosystem.
Yeah. Well, I just sent a video to them today that there is more suns out there in the universe than there are grains of sand on every beach in this.
That's crazy. This is what we were talking about.
How do you even?
You can't fathom it. And so you can't fathom the creation of it, and you can't fathom the. And I'm just going to use the term entity because we use a human term, him, he, father. That's not what God is. Men. It's because men started the whole thing.
I have a quick question though, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm fucking gonna.
It's got an axe to grind tonight.
Ken-Zee's really hot tonight.
If we can't fathom creation,
right?
Why are we gonna try and talk about it? Because I do have a real question for you that you could answer.
Well, I'm not trying to talk about creation. I'm just trying to talk about the complexity of the Creator and the relationship that I'm trying to have with that person.
I'm not saying to you. I'm saying
for
why
you
do
and
people?
him, everybody to talk about. Really.
If we can't fathom creation, why do we ask? Because we have to have curiosity. We have to have.
Just because we can't fathom doesn't mean it's not there and didn't happen.
Now, my next question. This is going to be a little bit of a reversal, but I just realized we've gotten this far. Why are you sitting here qualified to talk to us about this? Why should I give a shit about what you say?
I mean, I'm not a pastor. I have not gone to seminary. I have spent 10 years in a pretty significant Bible study, conservative Bible study, by the way.
Sure.
Went through the entire book. It was 3 hours every night, at least an hour or two of study every day.
What books did you go through?
All of them except for Revelation.
Book of Mormon?
No, that is not part of the Christian Bible.
Gnostic Gospels?
That leads to a real question then.
Yeah.
Here's one of my... How in the hell do we do religion in a country if we're all free? And at this point, I don't even know how many gods exist in the brains of people in this country. And what you said is that you were in a 10-year Bible study that never approached anyone else's perspective. I'm not trying to be trigger, but that's culty.
Yeah, but I think you're asking a question, which I think he's already answered kind of in a roundabout way, which is, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but almost all the people you're probably studying with feel the same way that you do. That the relationship with God is strictly between you and God.
Correct.
You don't have to understand. Okay, you don't have to understand His.
He doesn't. But at the same time, to back Ken-Zee up, by definition, all religion is a cult.
But I want to go back. If you're okay, so
By
you're giving,
definition.
all right.
By definition.
But that's an insistence that if there's a group that believes in anything that's metaphysical,
Correct.
that it all of a sudden and my problem with that, and this is why
Not all cults have to be bad.
This is why I don't call myself an atheist. This is why I say I'm agnostic, because I don't know.
I hate it.
I
when
really
mommy
truly
and
don't
daddy
know.
Fight. So
I don't know, man.
I used to call myself an agnostic as well. And I grew up in the Methodist Church. My parents were Methodist. Their parents were Methodist. I'm about as Methodist as the Methodists get. And the Methodist Church is a fairly progressive church. Thank God. Thank you very much, God, that just recently, just this May, the Methodist Church finally changed their book of discipline and will marry LGBTQ.
Oh, good. Cool.
And will allow them to be appointed senior pastors. They can ordain them and have
good.
all that. We've been fighting for that.
That was a question I
wait a
had.
minute. Religion can amend the script or amend the rules?
Ideology.
This is the book of discipline, which is the rules that the Methodist Church is very, very structured, and the book of discipline is their rule book. It is based in Scripture, but it has there are some things that, because Scripture doesn't cover running a church and structuring a church. So that's what the book of discipline, and for years the book of discipline. It said that homosexuality was incompatible with Christian living, which I had a major problem with.
Well, that was one of the questions I had. Can you be gay and a Christian at the same time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think so too.
Can you pursue the Bible and its teachings and be gay?
Absolutely. We're going to go back to Scripture is not infallible. Scripture is not inerrant.
The unerring word of God.
That is correct. And that is a contrary position to a large majority of Western Christianity.
Why do we need the storybook, so to speak, rather than just the rules or the commandments? Specifically speaking here.
Can I answer that first?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because people live through stories.
Yeah.
People live through stories.
Yeah.
I mean, look at something like what I talked about before. It's the hero's journey,
Yeah.
okay? Everybody lives the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be the hero of their own story. Everybody wants to slay the dragon in their own story. And I know that's loose, and I know that's abstract, and it's super, super vague, but all of us live through those archetypes.
I hate abstract.
Hey-o.
So
So
Listen to the irony in that.
Scripture's really it's really
Depth.
it's some of it is like the commandments, that's the rules, right? But there's a lot there's a lot of other rules in the Old Testament that really don't apply to modern day. And Christ himself said, I am the fulfillment of the law. Those laws are not important anymore.
I supersede them.
I supersede them. Believe in me. Don't believe in that. Believe in me. And so that's from a Christian perspective. That's why the Old Testament, from a Deuteronomy, Numbers, some of the other like Judges, Kings, those are all the books that have that really have the stories of the destruction of all of the other peoples besides the Jewish people that conquered the land.
So with all that being said, we live in a very science-based society because we have an issue if we can't see it or grasp it or touch it or have some type of model. We have a problem with being able to understand it. So can science and religion exist on the same plane?
Do you want a personal, or I'll give you a societal answer and I'll give you a personal answer.
I want to give you an answer too.
This is open for everybody. Everybody's going to give an answer.
On a societal level, I don't think they can coexist. Because on the whole, you'll hear my the second answer kind of addresses the gap here. Mm-hmm. The society we live in today, I'm going to make a reference to the West, okay, we're Western culture, okay. Especially with social media. All of the things that you're talking about, science and religion both, require deep thought. Mm-hmm. And I posit that the majority of people around are not capable of that thought.
Well, let's talk about the societal.
Now, hold on. Now, that's societal.
But I just want to say societal. The first thing I did when I got into college was told by every professor, God does not exist. That was the first message I got.
Postmodern professors, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So from a societal, if you wanted to expand your thinking, the first thing I was told was that God does not exist. Yeah. And you need to understand that because evolution exists, which means God doesn't exist, which I don't agree with that.
That's bullshit.
They can both exist on the same plane.
They're very congruent with each other.
They're exceptionally compatible.
And I think so as well.
Yeah, not mutually exclusive at all.
And that was their main argument. But go ahead with your second one.
The point is, like, I think on the whole, us as a society in the West, we're obsessed with TikToks and Reels. Mm-hmm. And the thing about science and faith is that they both take long examination. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe in the past it would have been easier, but now I think on the whole, people just aren't capable of it. They get so entrenched in ideas. Speaking back to tribalism we were talking about earlier, they get so entrenched in ideas that they won't. I mean, here's the science ideas, like evidence-based. Dude, look at COVID. You need to go no further than COVID. The problem is, like, we live in a society where messaging was being made, and all of a sudden, because of the internet and social media, everybody overnight became a virologist. They became an epidemiologist. And the thing is, like, you could have given them the most up-to-date, scientifically accurate studies and opinions, theories out there. Well, and if it didn't toe the line, it didn't matter because I've read all these articles and I know that I'm right. And that indicates a problem.
I need you to defend or throw me your thoughts on something.
Okay.
You said society and religion can't exist, so to speak.
No, it's a society. As a society, I think it's very difficult for religion and science to coexist.
Religion and science coexist. Now, let me ask you a question. Is it society or is it society with internet? And the only reason I ask this is because you were alive as a part of society.
That's a good point.
Pre-internet, with more experience as someone else in this room, and I want him to hear this too.
He makes a good point.
So is it society or is it society with connectivity in the billions?
Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot to it. I mean, so the internet
society would suggest we were.
Because religion existed within society long before.
Yeah, but people were fucking stupid way before the internet was there.
That's true too.
All the internet does is expose people's stupidity and expose the Dunning-Kruger effect that misinformation has on everybody.
But it also exposes that question I asked earlier: who would Jesus bomb? Because bombs go off and there's videos of them.
He would only love bomb.
So who the fuck is
Hugs
he bombing?
For everybody.
Or who is bombing who?
Jesus made a point to separate his movement from the movement of the government. Very clear delineation.
Yep.
Jesus doesn't bomb people. The government is the one that does that. So that's the answer to that. Jesus doesn't bomb people. And I'll say from a science perspective, I'm going to just give you a real quick example. I can't see electricity. I know it exists.
But you can feel it.
I can feel it. I can if I stick my finger in the fucking hole.
I disagree. You can see electricity.
Well, you can see when something arcs. I mean, yeah, but that's
okay. Well, but here's where I'm going with this. And this is me because this is how I was raised. I grew up in the church. My parents, thank you very much, Mom and Dad, for instilling in me a desire to know God, because I think for me that's important. And I remember the first time I felt God's presence. I know God is moving in my life at certain points. I'm not, I don't pray a lot. I should, but I don't. Just never got into it. But I know that God moves every day. I mean, have you met my wife? I know you have. I know you have. I don't know if you have.
Not sure.
Lovely, lovely person.
Yes.
Beautiful person.
36 years next month.
Fucking awesome, dude.
Man.
Amazing. Happy birthday.
Hey, cheers to that.
Yeah.
Cheers to that. We've never done this. Cheers
I
to
want
that.
to know.
Yes.
You've been married
Kelly,
longer than Ken-Zee's been alive.
Congrats. Kelly,
Longer than
you are
Ken-Zee's been
one
alive.
very patient woman. Dave,
is.
you are one lucky sumbitch.
I am. But I'm not going to say I'm lucky. I'm blessed. I mean, the day I met her, God put me in that room and put her in that room at that time for a reason.
Wait, so no, you don't believe in luck?
I do believe in luck, but I do believe that your circumstances dictate your luck. And when it comes to finding her, that wasn't luck. That was God.
Lightning round, one more. Do you believe in coincidence? Or is everything designed, planned?
That's a shaky question.
Yeah, no,
man.
I think there's some things that are just coincidental. Yeah.
Okay.
So back to
that's-
what we were
that's the
saying.
pure free will versus determinism thing.
Science on the same plane. And you brought up societal. Catholics are losing followers at the highest rate.
Yep.
And I personally believe that it has to do with something you brought up with the TikToks. The attention span is so short now. Catholic Church, I've been to maybe one or two.
Yeah. Services
and it is the
they are not
longest.
fast.
Besides the down south black churches that go on for days, it seems like.
Yeah.
But a Catholic mass goes on forever,
Yeah.
and I don't think people have the attention span to sit through it anymore.
Nor do I have the knees for your shitty fold-out rails. Get better cushions.
I want to extend on what you said before, which was that we're in this era where people have to understand everything and be able to see and grok it right in front of their eyes. And look, I believe in empiricism. I'm an empirical thinker. I like to be able to observe things. Yeah. I'm also a rational thinker, though, and the rational thinker in me says that it's very, very rational to think that there are absolutely going to be innumerable things that I am not going to be able to understand. That's it. And this is this agnostic and atheist thing. It's like what really flipped me. It's like reading the old Hellenistic philosophers. They had this belief about them.
What's the difference between those two? Could you clarify how you view the difference between
Empiricism?
those two?
Empiricism.
No, agnostic and atheistic.
Okay, atheistic means you don't. In my opinion, it means that there is nothing past the physical. There's nothing past the human realm.
That's correct.
Close enough. Agnostic means that I have acknowledged that there's definitely some sort of order that's past my nature, but I don't understand it, and I'm not going to say that I know it's there or not.
And ironically, both of those are religions.
Yeah, absolutely.
By definition.
Okay, so you guys have probably picked up on the fact that
Faith
I need
or
help
lack
with
thereof.
God. I need help with God. I've got a quiver full of fucking arrows to poke holes in a storybook.
You ever read about pantheism?
That's where I want to go.
Okay.
So I have in society deemed it easier to tell people I'm not religious. And if people press, I say I don't believe in God. And if people go real far and give me the time of day, they're going to be in a level of people that is such a close friendship that only two of the three of you guys are going to know this one, and about three other people. I think I'm pantheistic, and I didn't even know there was a word for it. But
everything.
Humante Lake in Ecuador. It's a 17,000-foot climb. You go up. Oh my God, it's there. And oh right, I just said oh my God. Naturally.
Yeah.
Here's what I believe. There is something agnostically better, bigger, and something out there.
There's something past this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
I
metaphysical,
also
man.
believe that we need to rethink and get an American view of church. Does it fucking matter? And the reason that I ask that, we can look in space all day and it causes controversy with everything we find because someone writes something else.
Yeah.
Now, I will say,
We're not meant to discover that.
the other thing that doesn't get enough attention, we know very little about our water. And I've always assigned God to water. I just got a fucking tattoo of infinite water. That's my God. I now found myself to be pantheistic, but I found my my God in water.
That's great.
And a lot of people think that's crazy.
Hey man, no,
it's not.
nature.
Too
A
abstract,
lot of people.
according to one of our hosts.
A lot of people.
producer.
A lot
I didn't
of
say it
people
was too
find that in
abstract.
nature, man.
You did one time.
I said your
You just didn't do it on
definition
this
was too
microphone.
abstract.
Now,
That's common.
help me with God.
Okay.
I think there's stuff out there because we can see it with the science
There's a lot of stuff out there that we're seeing with these new telescopes. It's awesome.
What's crazy, though, is we're looking out there at a level that's insane. And all due respect to, like, Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, huge inspiration. But why the fuck do we know about less than, let's say, for everyone to agree, 15% of our ocean?
Yeah.
And when we
Probably closer to
discover
10,
new life, and we're trying to quantify a species, and we find fish with invisible heads, and you can see their brains.
Qualify a species. Not
Qualify? Qualify?
Qualify. Not quantify.
You fucking libtards.
Sorry, dude.
So
Anywho,
Especially-
my point is, help me
especially-
with God, because here's how I found God. I found God hiking with the person that I love and going up a mountain and seeing
the water. Yeah. That's
That's-
awesome.
And
Hey.
then I realized, holy shit, people are stupid.
Then you know what? You found God, because that is God.
That's the
I
beatific vision,
No,
man.
it was water. It was a glacier. It was a mountain. It wasn't God.
It's the majesty of God.
There were 0 pearly gates.
Okay, so there's actually scripture that supports this. Even when there wasn't scripture, because there was belief in there were people in ancient times like you probably hiking up that very same trail and seeing that very same water.
Yeah.
And they're saying there's something beyond this. There's no way that
This is beauty on a scale we can't imagine.
that we can't just fathom, right? And in scripture it says that those who didn't believe in God even before there was scripture, the majesty of the creation speaks to who God is, right? And so when I get to the Rocky Mountains, for example, when I go up to the Rocky Mountains, I just feel it's a very spiritual place for me, just because I've been going there for so long. It's so beautiful, and it is the majesty of what God created here. So, and getting back to the question at hand in terms of science and religion, we keep talking about religion, and religion is it's jacked up. Religion in this country is way off the rails in terms of as a person who understands, at least from a rudimentary level, the teachings of Christ and what especially the Gospels have to say, which I think the Gospels, when you look at Scripture, the Gospels are the most important part of Scripture. They really are. And I look at what's in Scripture, in the Gospels, and we are so far away from what Jesus taught. It makes me sad. It really does. It breaks my heart to see these idiots from Topeka with their signs.
Oh yeah, Westboro.
I mean, that's an extreme example, but
Well, Jesus held up signs that said "fuck the gays" and stuff, right? I saw the pictures in the. Was that not in the Bible? Did I miss that?
We've got this big, and this will tie into the.
It's different in Aramaic than it
politics,
is.
because we've got this big
could've
debate now
sworn it was written.
about Amendment number 3, right? And there's no on 3 sitting in front of churches all over town because it's protecting the life of unborn children. But I have a different view of it. I really do, and I just it makes me sad that people in religion are using religion as a cudgel to make people conform to their standards and not meeting them where they are.
Are there too many gods in this country now?
Oh yeah, there's football is a god.
Yeah.
I-
TikTok, Facebook,
TikTok
dude.
is a
I
god.
didn't quite-
Money is a god.
Social media. Well, we talked about this. Like
Right.
social media is the way of motivating people. You Christians act right because they think God's watching, and now it's like we live in a society where I'm going to act like a fucking complete nutsack.
I'm glad you said that because we've all heard the phrase separation of church and state. It's a phrase that we've all heard and we think is It exists, but it does not exist
It's
anywhere.
not constitutionally.
It's a phrase that just somebody threw out there and kind of stuck.
Correct.
There is no.
Actions speak louder than words. Moving on.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
I'm not going to say that actions speak louder than words. I feel like there is a lot of politicians that their decision is based on faith, and they have the right to do that. But at the same time, 73% of voters, they all agree that there should be some sort of separation of church and state, just like you can't pass a law on somebody's ethnicity. You shouldn't be able to pass a law on a religious belief as well, because you're supposed to be looking out for the masses. I mean,
They struck down Roe because of religion. That was a religious decision. And that started with the religious right and Jerry Falwell back in the 80s with Reagan.
Majority, yeah.
And the moral majority, and they won. And I just say it like that. And because they won that battle, now they're going after trans.
Yeah.
I'm actually
Gay marriage too.
and I'm going to say this, and a lot of people may not agree. I agree with the Supreme Court's decision, because I agree with the Supreme Court's decision that we should kick things back to the state. Now, what the state did with it, I don't agree with. I am all for less big government in our day-to-day activities.
Agreed.
But without Big Brother up there making the decisions for all the 50 states, you see the separation happen.
I am a huge small government person, and I've been an independent my whole life. Very, very, very rarely do I put a check mark next to a D or an R.
Sure. Stamp them down.
And when you get into things like abortion, that falls under one of the inalienable rights that we have constitutionally protected: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Right?
It's a gray area though, because no one forces you to have an abortion. They just force you to have the kid.
So that aside, because Ken-Zee always has wonderful...
It's always contrarian.
That's
man.
where I'm stuck on the
that's right.
confusion. I'm
No.
confused about it. It's
So,
as gray as his hair.
This is just my perspective. My perspective is this: that overturning Roe stomps on your right to life, number one, because you know what? In Missouri, there are women who are in there have been several stories, and we've seen a few of them on the political ads of women who were in crisis in late stage childbirth, and the doctors can't
do it.
They can't do what they did before to perform these life-saving maneuvers, and that often involves losing the child, which is tragic. And these women who and the fathers, I can't imagine waiting for 9 months for this wonderful creation to come and to have a child ripped away from you at the last minute like that has to be the worst thing that has ever happened to you. And now the state is coming in and saying, oh, by the way, yeah, you're both going to die.
Yeah,
And so your sister that's at home and your husband, so that takes away their right to life. It takes away their right to pursuit to happiness. That's why I think it should be federally protected.
Let's tie this in. I'll play ball here, and this is going to be trigger warning, FYI. But this happened to me, so if you want to be triggered by it, put yourself in my shoes for a second. Small business owner, customer's always right. We've done that fucking episode, right? How'd I feel about that?
Good episode.
Right.
It was a good episode.
Now let's go back a step. Everyone in this room knows my small business, and I don't clarify what I do here, and I don't give a shit, and it doesn't matter. It's like looking up. Sometimes. That said, I wore a Girls Just Want to Have Fundamental Rights shirt. And it's a fun shirt. My fiance got it for me.
Fucking liberal.
And here's my favorite part. Small business. Customer's always right. It's a typical libtard business. It's a small libtard business, so to speak. Leans left, right?
Sure.
Is everyone agree? Oh, sorry. Leans left, right?
Hey,
leans left, correct? Would everyone agree?
There's that rim shot button.
Would everyone agree that that's what I would? Okay. Thank you for the rim shot. So what I struggle with here is I'm behind the customer facing aspect, wearing a shirt. Girls just want to have fundamental rights, and I get accosted verbally Buy my choice of shirt by a woman in her mid-40s.
Sure.
Guess what she told me when she asked about God, because she gave me a few minutes and I told her how I felt. And I told her what I thought of, now known as pantheistic or whatever the fuck it is. I think God's water. So whatever that qualifies, you name it, species.
Qualifies.
There you go. Guess what she said to me, Dave?
Yeah.
She took out the most religious stance and she said, "That's retarded," and walked away.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
And I thought,
God is love, man.
You know what? If Jesus is out there, he'd bomb her first.
Oh, shit.
If he's out there walking, Pearly Gate monitoring,
good callback,
bomb that bitch first.
That's a good bet.
That's a great callback, bro.
Perfect.
But I'm for fucking real there. I got called out for wearing Girls Just Want to Have Fundamental Rights.
Hey, people are triggered by all sorts of stuff, man.
Now, what I want to know, though, is it's America. We live here, right? America. This is one. Land of the free. Land of the free speech.
North America, yes.
And I verbalize mine, but her God gets loud, but I own the business, so the customer's always right. So I can't defend my God because I'd be losing business potentially. So I'll take the retard across the chin. Go ahead and tell me where I'm supposed to feel comfortable with religion, talking about God, where I fit in.
I think we've talked about this already. I mean, the religion has used the scriptures and
the cudgel, man,
the righteousness, right, as a cudgel. There are
what's a cudgel? It's a big hammer, right?
Blunt instrument, dude.
Just a blunt instrument, just hammering you over the head with it.
So blunt force trauma is religion.
Can be.
So when I started this, when I came up with this idea, granted I was left alone for way too long.
You also didn't realize he was going to be boiling over here about the whole thing.
But
you fucking asked me to be here. By the way, I love your God
mic there. He's on fire.
I love your God merch. Did you get it on God.com and did it go straight to the people?
It did not.
Weird.
It's a not-for-profit.
It is. So one of my rules that I threw out there was I refused to talk about abortion on here.
Okay.
Because there's no winning side to it.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, it got brought up. So I'm debating on if I want to play devil's advocate here or not, but I feel like I should.
Well, can I try? Can I say something to see if you might agree?
Yeah, go ahead.
Float an idea.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of the dialogue between anti and pro, becomes this really weird bad faith exercise in exceptions and outliers, border cases.
By the way, this segues into my next point perfectly.
So I think I can certainly rationally listen to somebody that's advocating not necessarily for abortions, I don't want the baby, but they're advocating for things like ectopic pregnancies.
Absolutely.
Situations in which a full-term pregnancy could the baby's most likely not going to survive.
Ectopic incest.
If we don't deal with it specifically in ectopic pregnancies, the mother's probably going to die.
No, they
as
will.
Well.
There's 100% chance.
So
yes, absolutely.
So there's this
100%.
Well, there's this idea of abortion is healthcare. Okay, and if you eliminate everything but ectopic pregnancies and say that if you have this baby, if you take this child to term, you're going to die and the baby's going to die too. You can say that. Okay, so but that again, this is this one.
But why is it classified that? Even after you've had a miscarriage and there is no longer viable life, it is officially an abortion.
Officially?
Officially.
Are DNCs considered abortions?
Yeah, DNC, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. So I totally get it.
We don't have an abortion issue in this. We have a classification issue.
Get used to it, dude. That's every fucking societal topic that's really divisive.
Can I tell you what I think?
Including religion.
We define it by weird border cases and exceptions instead of the fucking norm, the majority.
I don't mean to interrupt mommy and daddy fighting. It is entertaining for some of us. That said,
which one's mommy and which one's dad? I guess I'm older. In the Christian world, am I the daddy since I'm older?
I'll let you guys fight it out Darwin style.
I've got the one on.
Let me know who's got the little spoon.
Darwin style?
So with what you guys are saying, Dave, I want to ask your question because we have a guest here and we don't need to listen to Chuckles and Fuckles here. Mommy
Which
and
one's
Daddy.
Chuckles? And which
Yeah, no shit.
I'll let them Darwin
This is
fight
again
that.
another classification problem here. God damn it!
But here's what I want to tell you. My thought on the problem is:
How about you hear Dave's song?
how many people in this room are capable
of
childbirth?
childbirth. I knew that was
Why
coming.
the fuck are we?
I think that's
Because it takes every
dude,
single
that's-
one of us here
Sorry.
to make it.
And I'm
say
not
it.
arguing
That's
that.
a fucking cop out, and I hate when people say that.
And I'm not arguing the entirety of it. I'm saying
Because you can stand up for what's right.
you can stand up for what's right. But you know what? I stood up for my God and I got quapped down. So
We didn't go
No.
you down. I like
I
your
have a
idea.
question because
guess what? My stance on abortion and her stance on abortion probably still different, right? Is that a cop out now?
I think you saying that the only people that can talk about an issue are people affected by the issue is a cop out.
I don't think it's that. I think it's that legislation shouldn't be handled by.
Here's a perfect example.
Are you gonna let only
Right.
women vote on that?
Hold
thing?
on, let me ask him a question.
Makes some sense.
So you think, and that's
An
fine,
example. I'll give you that one.
Bitch is crazy. You
it should be left up to specifically the woman to choose, right?
No.
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounded like to me. So we can't talk about it. It's their decision alone.
No. We can talk about it, but I guess in this room no one can change anything other than by voting.
I actually I'm gonna say this. I don't think it's just the woman's decision. I think she gets majority rule.
Which is
yeah,
fine,
that-
and I
right.
agree with that.
But I think there's a decision to be made if I'm married to someone and we're in that situation, then obviously I'm going to have a voice in it. Our healthcare provider is going to have a voice in it, and that's the point. Those are the voices that need to be heard, not something from the government. I have a
Thanks,
question
Dave,
you.
for answering
Yeah.
the question for me.
So I have a question for you because you say that going back to the states is where it should be. So I'm just curious what puts you in that position.
Because we have laws that dictate laws that dictate laws. And when we get into like 2A rights and everything else, we have laws about that and laws about that. You know what would be a great idea? Let's just make murder illegal and give it the harshest sentence possible.
Fucking Code of Hammurabi, dude. Eye for an eye.
But we have that. But we are so tripped up on we need more laws. We need more laws. We have the worst offense. We have the biggest law out there that carries the penalty of death
Correct.
in a lot of states.
And
What more law would supersede that by doing more?
Well,
So I am not so much send it back to the states. I'm saying less laws, less government, and let's be smart about it. One law kind of covers all of it because you kill somebody, that's the mortal sin. That's the in the eyes of the law. You
Thou
just
shalt
did
not
the
kill.
worst
Man.
thing.
Now we're getting into classification because and I think the whole abortion controversy boils down to life beginning at conception, and as someone who follows Christ, I struggle with that question. I think that the potential for life is there. Is it life? I don't know.
Well, I saw something the other day that it's just a bunch of cells with an electrical pulse. Isn't that what we are?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think these are, and the reason that this is such a controversy and this is a generational fight.
We can argue this forever, and this is actually leading into something that I want to get into.
Let's get into it.
Is that
We're going in circles.
we are so
Thanks, Ken-Zee.
Ken-Zee.
I'll just shut
gonna
up
blame
and send
you.
a text message, man. Here's my struggle
good,
with
brother.
it. Here's my struggle with it. We all have our opinion.
we do.
And here is my final on this. Not going to say the A word, okay?
I don't believe it.
Because the A word to me is a giggle, and not a giggle, it's the darkest thing ever.
Correct.
And who makes the best decisions for you?
Myself.
Then why the fuck would I ever take that away from you?
All right. That you're right. So that means I'm going to play devil's advocate.
I said it was my final. I'm out.
Okay.
Moving the mic.
I'm going to play devil's advocate because this lead into something I wanted to say.
Sorry, I'm out.
If
Grenades explode and you run away.
if you have that right,
I'm an American.
if you have that right,
Thought that was your last word.
and I don't have a say, which I respect.
I'm not saying you don't have a say. I'm saying
No. A lot of people don't. A lot of people will say men don't have a say, which I respect their decision. I respect all that. My decision to walk away when you do have that child from child support and responsibility.
You don't get that.
That's my decision. I get that.
All right, I lied. I have another final thought.
I knew it. I told you.
I knew I could drag him back in.
Full of shit.
I knew I could drag him back in.
Never can stop.
I can walk away because you get the ultimate choice. That means I get the choice that affects my life as well.
Chuckles and fuckles around.
I go back to connectivity here. And I go back to a struggle with if you make your own best decisions, and if you and someone got pregnant, and then you had to have the conversation. You would have to talk about it.
You don't have to. No, you don't.
Yeah, you don't have.
Because a female, she could walk over across the street, have whatever done. It's her body, her right.
Okay, but that's right now.
But
what did we used to do? Because right now we're trying to figure out the right answer based off of safer science and tech.
Correct.
And back in the day,
I'm saying we've evolved.
I'm just saying
We've evolved.
Okay, we're talking about the A word. That's a trigger.
Yeah.
Let me give you a real trigger. Does anyone here not know a reference to a coat hanger? And let me give you a hint. That's a reference because someone fucking did it, not because it was a hypothesis that no one tested.
Yeah.
No.
And I'll go back with another side.
Like I said, we've
project on
evolved,
this,
though.
okay?
That's a technology and societal
Okay.
shame problem as much as it is a
We've
rules of
evolved.
laws.
Okay, pop culture. Family Guy. Yield abortion clinic.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
All
Okay,
right, stop.
now I'm not going farther than that. But what I want to say is, now that we have a alternate that's safer, I believe in regulatory, I believe in government, I believe in all of this, but I also
I think we have a classification
And
issue.
I have,
it
yeah.
is. It's a
We
taxonomy
struggle
issue.
because
We also have a morning after pill too, which fixes a lot of
you want
problems.
Yeah.
Which is illegal in Missouri, by the
Yeah,
way.
by the way.
the best way to
Sure, it's how it
articulate
works.
this? You said,
do
Dave,
the
you said
same
we
thing.
have too many gods in this country.
Yes.
I'm not giving medical advice, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor.
Does
I'm not a
religion
doctor.
have any effect on the stance of abortion? And if so, if we have too many gods, can we ever agree on it? And if so, why is our government balls deep in it?
So I'm going to stop you right there because this is segueing into what I have to say.
All right, let's go.
So we're going to shift to a little bit more politics and
Tried.
religion
He said
in
he
it.
wasn't going to talk anymore.
And so Democrats, majority, 50 and younger, or identify as Democrats. So Republicans definitely have an issue with their Democrat. They're dying. Their support is dying.
Sure.
Their support is dying off. And I do feel like that there is a shift coming to politics with people who are a little more right-leaning like me, which, you know, I'm one of those people. If I could describe myself, if you want to get married, same sex, go for it. I don't care. Like, be happy.
Yeah.
Love who you love. Like a lot of the older Republicans are saying, like, you know, that's against my religion. That you can't do that. Why? What does it hurt? Is them doing?
That's called compassionate conservatism. It's been around forever.
Yeah.
I've always felt that I felt like I was a compassionate conservative for most of my life. I've switched a little bit. I've gone from right center to left center just recently.
Yeah. Well, you can certainly still have progressive
It's
views
pretty
and be a
easy to
conservative.
step over the line if you're right near the center of it, isn't it? It's a lot harder to leapfrog if you're a fucking crazy
There is
person on one of the radical sides.
progressive conservatism, man. I mean, that's the difference between what they call, capital C and small c conservatives anyway.
Correct.
Too.
And over the next 10, 15 years, I see a big W for a lot of the Democrats in the House, Senate, everything, until the rhinos get out of there that are so stuck on religion, who are so stuck on anti laws because of their quote unquote religion. Like, here's me. I support gay marriage. Yeah. If you love somebody, you love them, go be happy. If you want to marry two women want to get married, well, that's double the misery that we have to go through. So good luck with that.
Wow, you
Marrying
nailed it.
one's bad enough.
Oh, hey-o.
I don't know how the Mormons do it. I can hardly handle
Yeah, no
one wife.
shit.
Right?
man.
It's amazing that our one
Sister
viewer
wives.
is a female and your mom, and you fucking alienated her with that.
Nah,
Good
she'll-
job.
She'll agree with
She'll
me.
agree with
I
us,
know.
probably.
Trust me, she will agree.
what's-
It's
you know,
your
she
mom,
can't-
I have to assume.
she
what's-
can't tolerate herself half
What
day
I think,
because
what
of
I
her
think is
attitude.
funny about what you're saying, I totally agree with what you're saying, and it's funny. It's I would call it maybe like a sense of progressive conservatism, which is we realize that our orthodoxy, as time changes and society changes, is going to have to shift a little bit. And the reason I say so is because what's marriage traditionally? It's a religious ceremony indicating a partnership between people. But now.
It's basically just a piece of paper that the government recognizes.
200 years later, okay, let's just go from, roughly the beginning of the United States, where there was not a lot of wealth and communities were built around the church and religion. Okay. Now we
You
all
mean from all of the immigrants who fled here?
yeah, no, but maybe some of it. Yes, it's part of it.
That's
I
part
mean,
of
it is part of it. But now we have, it's not all about the union. I mean, it is for some religious people. But the fact is, when I marry my wife, it's not just about the partnership between us spiritually or physically. It's about estate planning. It's about making sure I can put a trust together for my kids, and I do it legally under the auspice of our marriage.
Right. And so I
Trusts do that as well, though.
Well, yeah,
you
but
can structure it.
my point is, like, 2 men or 2 women,
Yeah, it
they
doesn't-
should be able to consolidate their estate legally.
Is marriage based in Christianity?
Yes.
So
I believe so.
10 years ago.
Is it, Dave?
Well, marriage in the United States is
I mean, not in the,
illegal.
just over.
Yeah, absolutely. It's based
Marriage is based in Christianity.
Yeah, it's based in Christianity.
So it's like a Christianity property trade, so to speak. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 oxes for you, and
And-
I pay a dowry. And
And
And we'll
surprisingly,
each wear
become
the
mine.
circle of shine.
surprisingly in Scripture, the power in the marriage goes to the man. I just don't understand how that works.
She shall submit.
Yeah, well, yes, but you must be benevolent and kind. That's how. That's
Yep.
what the. That's what
Wow.
the.
Yeah.
you can't
But
beat
then
her with a
devil's in the
switch
details,
larger
man.
than the
Hey,
thumb.
those religious men came up with that old rule of thumb. It wasn't in the Bible, but it was a little asterisk.
So 10 years ago, I did not think that gay marriage was appropriate for a church ceremony. I did not have a firm belief as I do now that a marriage between 2 people of the same sex was a marriage like my marriage.
I'm not
where
going to go
God
into
is part
details, but that
right?
kind of surprises me.
No, I didn't. And
That surprises me.
So you didn't believe in that
I did not.
10 years ago?
I believe that I've always believed that if you want to marry somebody of the same sex, I believe that's the state.
That's a radical change.
Yeah, I agree.
The state should.
I understand
should recognize that.
separation of church
Explain
and
the
state.
flip-flop.
Okay.
So here's what changed. I started educating myself outside of just this very conservative Christian Bible study. I would say.
Yeah.
And I started
The rhinos, it sounds like.
Yeah, I started reading things like Making Sense of the Bible, Common Sense Christianity. I can't remember some of the other, but I read a lot of really good books by progressive Christians. And they started talking about the fact that Scripture is not inerrant and infallible. It's not. And that is not a popular opinion in Western religion. There will be plenty of people that would hit me over the head with a cudgel.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
And it kind of brings us back to this practice what you preach thing, which is, look, I appreciate that perspective. Like, I would love to see every person who walks in grandstands as a Christian, you'd love to see them do exactly what the 10 Commandments say.
Yeah.
I would love to see real. But the problem is, but the issue with that is that part of the Scripture says that humans aren't perfect, and they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to fuck up, and as long as they're penitent, benevolent before God, ask for forgiveness, everything's okay. And there's this really, it's a really fucking fine line there, where you're expecting somebody who walks that walk to be perfect, and it's a self-defeating thing.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the humanized version of religion that we've all seen. Why would we humanize it?
We get into the sin and redemption and turning away from sin, right? It's impossible for humans to turn away from sin. It's just our nature. It is built into our nature, and so I'm not so worried about the sins of my past. I try not to repeat them. Some I do, some I do not. Right? But getting back to surprising to hear that I made that transition, and I made the transition because I looked at the love that like my oldest son is gay. And I look at the love that he's had with some of the men that he's dated. I look at the love that's in the marriage between some friends of ours who we know very well.
So
I look at the love amongst that community. And
so life experiences.
There's no way God's not in that.
Yeah,
There's no way God's
totally
not
agree.
in that.
So
Totally
life
agree, man.
experiences
Absolutely.
have shifted what a piece of paper told you what it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Empiricism works, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that works.
And I also this was something that somebody told me quite a while ago. I mean, this is a really good way to think about your worldview. I have very strong opinions on a lot of shit, but I hold them loosely, and I am open-minded to change them.
I'm the same way.
man.
I'm the same way. I can admit when I'm wrong, and I am very open to a lot of ideas. I have my opinions, and you're gonna. If you want to sway my opinion, you better come with me with some facts. And if you can show me a fact, I can be like, oh, yeah, you are right. Ken-Zee's done it a few times.
But even facts but him realizing the love and the presence of love between two, that's not a fact.
No.
It's
I
an
understand
experience.
that.
It's a feeling.
No, it's
I'm just saying,
empirical, dude. It's not
I am very bullheaded in
not
my
some measured
opinions.
thing you can do, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm very bullheaded with my opinions.
No.
But at the same time, no, not at
I
all.
never fucking believe that.
But if you come to me with reason, for one, or facts.
Well, good faith helps too.
Good faith, and I will change my opinion. I'm not somebody that's like, I will not change.
We got to get him on the Cowboys, dude. It's fucking bullshit.
Well, that's why we had
his bandwagon fan team.
Dim boys.
them boys.
Dim bandwagon boys.
That was the last episode.
So, like I brought up earlier,
Conceptual continuity.
we are getting away the
Zappa.
fuck from this.
Absolutely. Yes.
Listen,
Nobody ever gets that.
you guys are not going to team up.
Do you want to
about
know?
this.
Well, you've never heard of Frank Zappa either, so it doesn't really help.
You know my license plates on the car out there say Zappa.
Oh, nice. Excellent. Excellent.
Well,
I got a
let's
question for you.
jump from the 1930s ahead.
That's not the 30s, fucker.
70s.
70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Says the old people.
Good Christ, listen to these boomers.
They don't even know what
Could you
decade they're in.
imagine? Could you imagine boomers when, like, the generation where boomer parents? Could you imagine abortion then when you needed them for the war and the production and the Industrial Revolution?
I don't know what you mean. It's really too
Long
loose.
story.
Too
Yeah,
loose
whatever.
for me.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. But
I do have a real question for you though.
go for it.
Oh shit.
With where we are in this country and where we find our information and how all of us take it in. We have stuff like the James Webb Telescope up there looking at crazy stuff out there.
Yeah.
I wonder if the younger generations that are mostly admitted more glued to screens than any of the olders. I think that's a scale that would be linear or exponential. So to speak.
Old people are glued to him, but certainly a high percentage young people.
Well, here, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Old people glued to their screens, not arguing. But I believe they're looking at different material and content than the young people.
Absolutely.
And I think the young people are baffled by space and the James Webb Telescope and stuff that it sees.
Sure.
And I think that old people
can go with
are
that
at
kind
a
of.
level of,
A small,
I'm comfortable in my ways. I grew up this way. I believe in that paper, and my son never turned gay, so I don't, or whatever. I don't have to worry about this.
I believed in the paper and my son turned gay.
You're I think
Did
you're
he kiss a frog or
you're
something?
you're conflating two ideas that aren't mutually exclusive.
I'm not trying to be mutually
I mean,
exclusive with this thing.
you're laying this heavy burden at the foot of just technology, and I don't think that's the whole story.
I don't think it is either. I think it's time and
I
tech.
think that the technology itself, take something like TikTok and Reels. Okay, you can argue the content of a fucking reel all day. It doesn't really matter. The reel, that format, that dopamine pop, is the exact same all across age demographics. Now, maybe the content of those reels hits the dopamine button for young versus old, certainly.
So how much God?
But it's technology.
How much God in a percentage for everyone here? I just want to one hit wonder lightning round percentage. How much God percentage wise is on social media videos? Is in social media videos.
Actually, there's
Christians
quite a bit.
Christians would make the argument that God,
I would say
created the earth.
20%, 10
reels are
to
made,
20%, depending on what you're
So
looking
it's all okay.
It all comes down to algorithm. What are you being presented with?
What he just said is Christians would argue that God created the earth, so everything was under that purview.
Right.
Yeah.
So why would we have those same content clips that are showing godless acts, or even
God
Satanist?
created people that aren't perfect.
Free
dude.
will.
Yeah.
Free will.
And God very rarely intervenes in the free will of.
So I'm going to try to blow your guys' mind.
Okay.
Are
you gonna do the free
I've
will
never
and
tripped up
determinism
Brian
thing?
before. I've never tripped up Brian. So in science, we pretty much accept two creation theories.
Okay.
Basically, you have the Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
There was nothing. A lot of friction and particles come together, and you end up with the God particle.
So my translation would be non-physically observable versus physically observable.
Correct.
Empirical versus non-empirical.
Correct.
Physical, metaphysical.
So
Okay.
we have basically, and then you go back to one of Hawking's quotes, which I love. If the universe was and always was, there is no God. But if it created something, there. But to go with this, all right. So there was nothing,
Yeah.
and then the Big Bang happened. Correct.
Okay. I think you have a time. I think you're dealing with a time paradox. It's a lot along the lines of the concept that if there's an end, there had to be a beginning. Or
Correct.
if something was created, there has to be a creator.
Correct.
Those are all concepts created by man.
Correct.
Honestly,
They
it's
are.
all
They
man.
are.
It's all man-made creation.
But let's
It's
just
just
say
what our brain can handle.
It's what our brain can handle.
It's hey, social justice. It's socially constructed.
So-
it is. It really is.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that you probably agree with the Big Bang Theory.
I don't know. It's a compelling theory.
It's a compelling theory.
It's a compelling theory.
Okay, so there was nothing, and an expansion happened from an explosion.
Yeah.
Is it more likely to believe that there was nothing and something just appeared?
I don't believe that. I think that you're getting into a really, really abstruse idea of time, because we get hung up on time.
Correct.
As a relative measure for everything.
But
And
but to
again,
accept the Big Bang Theory, that means
time
nothing
is
was
a
there.
fucking man-made creation again. So
Correct.
we're speaking in terms, in physical terms.
I'm speaking in trillions of years.
And you're asking a metaphysical question. You're asking me to answer a metaphysical question before we could observe anything, before we knew or understood anything. You're asking me to answer a metaphysical question in physical terms.
That yes.
So
but
that-
I'm asking
Two systems that aren't congruent, man.
But they are. Because what I'm asking you is that is
Beyond
it more
my-
likely to believe that something that wasn't there became and was just there, or is it more likely that there was a greater?
I believe there was something there already. I don't believe in this
do I.
concept that there was absolute nothingness.
That's your only way out of this.
But hold on. I say that, and it's not a cop out. That this is that back to that agnostic question. Like the big problem with religion, the big problem with Neil deGrasse Tyson's theories that most people come up with, and I'll even tie in your thing about water and the canyon you stepped up on. I still think that things like the Rocky Mountains, things like that place, represent some metaphysical thought to us, because they put us in a place where we realize how small we are. And this problem of scale is a strictly human problem that's created by the way we learn, by our epistemology and our cosmology, dude. We don't understand that we are fucking the smallest speck, the grain of sand.
Stardust.
And that's the hard part, is like we are raised to believe that we're this. I mean, really, I would say our culture specifically now preaches that the world is me centric.
Yeah.
We're all a symbiotic piece of one rolling piece of organic material that really none of us have a huge part, but we certainly all have an interplay with each other.
Right.
And that scale is something it's hard to understand.
And everything you're just talking about sounds a lot like what you get into in Christianity and following Christ, where we are part of the community,
Yeah, funny
and
how
that we
that works.
care, and it is.
Yeah.
And so I don't think anything that happened with regards to the creation of the universe and the beginning of time is incongruent with a belief in a creator or a higher being.
Or a master architect.
So I want to bring this back to the whole
the designer.
the religion in politics.
Okay.
So, like I said before, there is a huge gap that is about to happen within the Republican Party. their followers are dying off just due to old age, and you are seeing the Democrats pretty much ruling the younger ideologies and everything.
Is it the silent majority going away? Do you think that's part of it?
I think that certainly has something to do with it.
Yeah.
I think so too.
I have a question.
Well,
for
and
you
also,
with regard to your
you
stuff.
also have to remember that the GOP, the GOP is not the GOP of 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so
That's why we call them rhinos.
Right. What do you call the current? I just call them the MAGA party.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. It's a party that is.
But that's
aligning
gone in
itself
4
under Trump.
years.
Yeah.
Not fun.
4 years. One way or
no
the
matter
other.
what
Could
happens.
be gone in a week. It could be
Go back
gone
to
in 4
God.
years.
You know what? I don't think it's going to be gone in a week. If Trump loses, it is not going away.
Yeah, it won't. Because
That's a
he'll
different
be
episode.
he'll be a
Can we go back to
kingmaker.
God for a second?
Please.
Sure.
No, this is this episode. But
No, I have a
tie it.
real question for everyone here,
okay.
and then I'm just going to walk away and pee.
Okay.
It's 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Can science prove or disprove God? If it does, do the followers of God listen?
Science cannot prove or disprove God.
Yeah, I don't think
So
it's gonna
is it
happen.
just something that's always meant to be
It's
out
faith.
there searching?
It's faith. It's faith. It's just part of the
Physical
whole,
and metaphysical, dude.
Yep. It's faith.
There's things that are beyond us, and we have to be okay with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But with that being said, so we have the, like I said,
Tisk.
going back to the religion in politics.
Yeah.
So 25% of high schoolers today identify as LGBTQ. And then you have a large majority of the leaders in the Republican Party saying it is against their religion. Then you have the new, I mean, I guess it's not new, but openly saying that basically their followers, their ideologies need to be producing children. You know, they became the meme, the old cat ladies, or cat ladies, childless cat ladies, whatever it was. But here's the fact: somebody like me who's of age to still have children.
You old dog.
I know, right? I'm getting up there, but still of the age to have children.
Really?
You too. They're all
Here's what?
fucking old.
This guy.
I know, of all people to say old.
Hot kettle.
I already got 2 kids, man. So.
But are they that out of touch with reality? Childcare for one child is like $30,000 a year if you want to continue your
insane.
career.
Well, I mean,
With that being said, too, to buy a home, you have to be in the top 10% of earners.
I do think that'll change a little bit as time.
It will change, but that's
'Cause
not
interest
talking
rates,
about right
interest
now.
rates did that more than property costs.
I mean, did it though?
I think it's
No,
we're
it
talking
didn't because we had 0.5 interest rates, and the price of housing shot up almost 50%.
It is the Airbnb effect. People are buying
absolutely.
investment properties.
I agree. Totally agree with
nuts.
that. Totally agree.
And
with
other
that.
countries are buying
Correct.
Well, and,
our
and
real
venture
estate.
venture
Absolutely.
capital,
venture
companies are doing
capitalist
that.
companies.
Yeah.
So, I want to say, what is it?
Cheap
right
money.
now?
Cheap money is not always good.
No, it's not, because right now I believe the bank is holding $750 billion.
Oh, bad housing debt. Mostly.
In bad housing debt.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me.
Huh. When did that happen recently?
Oh shit! It's not too many years ago. Boom.
Weird how the guy who saw it first thinks everything's about water.
All right, let's just go into
Go to
that.
the bathroom.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
no
sorry.
shit.
Fuck all y'all. I'm gonna go pee now for real. Bye,
Oh,
Randy.
good.
Move that over.
What's your bullet point?
So, I mean, Americans own a record 1.14 trillion in debt right now.
Is that total?
That's
or
credit
just
card.
credit card.
That's
That
just
sounds like
credit card.
Yeah,
Holy
that sounds
shit,
like
man.
revolving.
That's
that sounds like
insane,
Chase. That
dude.
sounds like Chase and Bank of America going to take it in the ass,
Right.
at some
But they're
point
gonna
when you
ask
start
for a
to fall
bailout.
They're gonna get bailed out.
Of course
too.
They're
they
gonna
are.
get
Of
bailed
course they
out.
are.
Then
Of
we
course
have
they are.
While their executives get huge bonuses.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Performance.
we have banks that are holding $750 billion in real estate losses.
Yeah.
That's just losses. That's not even projected losses that are coming up.
We've got $1 trillion in student loan debt that's technically in default. They're
That's
behind.
what we're gonna do that. Then
We have
that's
that.
gonna be the next Dave episode. It's gonna be student
Auto
debt.
loan debt is sitting at 1.63 trillion
Yeah.
in the United States. Our government alone owns over 35 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, what is that?
Print more money.
Yeah, we just keep printing more money. And I know this is getting away from the religion and stuff, but it ties into the politics and their ideology. You know, you have one side that are the bleeding hearts, allegedly, that are just giving it out like it's nothing. And then you have the other side who is
giving it out like it's nothing.
Yeah.
You just print more.
Who does it? You print more. You either give it to the businesses and bail them out, or you give it to the people and bail them. I mean, and that's one of the things that really drives me nuts about the
That's
change.
my point. Is like you either it's a shuffling one way or the other.
Right. And as much as the right likes to talk about Marxism and communism and socialism. Didn't you sign in on like $1 trillion going to like $3,000 a pop to everybody?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's certainly socialism.
That's socialism.
It's not Marxism or communism. It's socialism.
No, and the Democrats are not Marxists and they're not communists. But
There's some that are.
Well,
Some that are.
some of them are, but those are the fringe ones. I mean,
I'm making more conceptual arguments
Right.
that it's
that's
easier to advance economic policies when you are fanning the flames of a haves and have-nots construct, which that's your Marxism, right? It's the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. These landowners versus poor people, Czechs versus the farmers and rich people. And that was how, I mean, let's be honest, that's how the Bolshevik, that's how all the Soviet revolution, that's how it started.
No, absolutely.
So
this went exactly where I hoped it would. Is politics America's new religion?
It's one of them. It's certainly one of them.
Especially right now.
Yeah.
Especially right now.
Well, it definitely sparks the tribal nature.
Yeah.
This belief where my side's going to do it the right way and your side, you know.
Like I said, I'm glad you guys took it to where you did, because it seems like politics is the new reigning supreme. It just
hold on. So I really do this, and I fucking hate the term social justice warrior. Okay, because it's got positive, negative connotations. You can certainly make it a shitty thing, or you can make it a good thing.
I got something
you can
leading
make
into
it
that.
a good thing or not thing.
Motherfucker!
But no, the problem is
on it. You guys are on it tonight.
But it's all performative.
Yeah,
it's all fucking performative. Like, really, do you really think that? You get where I'm going? Is like, do you really think that it really means anything? Do you really think people like principally stand for anything?
Can I throw something at you with your
hold on, real quick. Because you asked, is it a religion? We've talked about this in other episodes, dude. It's bad incentives, and who's watching? Who's watching? And when it's God's watching, that produces morality based on whatever the code of your religion is, and that's which is good or bad, doesn't really matter. But when social media and tribalism have become the eye above that's watching, as opposed to God or metaphysical morality, the behavior is not going to be the same. Like social media and politics, the tribalism it's bad incentives for behavior. It's not good incentives. It's not moral incentives at all.
And you can pick and choose your battles with this too, because if you're going to put God into politics, well, what did Jesus do? Well, he accepted the poor and the homeless and
helped everybody.
And that's not what is going on in the culture. It's not what's going on in the legislation of the right. I mean, the right they're talking about deputized. One of the guys that I heard it was Trump's. He was the ICE director in his first term. He actually said that they're going to deputize National Guard to help with policing to go find these criminals, and that stuff scares me, right?
Yeah.
There was a little more to that, but it's definitely infringes on legal rights and everything else.
And I probably that probably wasn't part of this point. The point is, as religion always does, it always picks and chooses what it serves them right now.
Sure. Incentives, man. I go back to that.
So I know you wanted to say, does it have to do directly with what he was saying? Because I got something.
Nah, I mean, I fucking hate this episode.
Fire away, dude.
Fair enough.
You want it or not?
No. I got something that
We'll
goes
wait for
with
your
this.
final thoughts. How about that?
We'll save that for final thoughts. So you brought up the social justice warrior.
Yeah.
You are now looking at the woke culture.
Okay.
And they have a very large voice with social media and everything that goes with it. Now, I just want to say, a lot of those people, I do think they're standing for a cause that they believe in. I do think they ideologically think it's for the better.
Sure.
Do you guys think that a lot of these people, I'm going to venture and say 90%, think they're doing good, but they are doing more harm to the cause by their behavior, their actions, and the way that they approach it?
People want to feel like they're doing something meaningful. And I really mean it. That's an abstract thing, but
They do.
It doesn't.
But is it helping? They think they're helping, but I think they're doing way more damage.
That's a tough question, because in the eyes of their peers, their peers with similar interests, are probably thinking that guy's fighting the righteous fight.
But at the same time, for their cause, there's you have your peers, and then you have the actual cause.
Yeah, I think there's a real blurry line between that.
Yeah, and I think there's a generality to that too. You got to look at specific circumstances and situations to say, is this doing more harm than good?
Yep. Well, that's the outlier, like the outlier and border case versus the broad subject itself.
You could break it down to case by case, and it is a difficult question, but you see, and this is in the world we live in now.
Yeah.
I mean, you were videotaped, you were recorded, you were captured in every moment, and a lot of times, it doesn't matter what you're standing for. I'm not saying it's a certain side, a certain ideology, or anything.
Sure.
When you have an ideology and when you are captured on video, usually it's not in a positive light. At least the ones that make it out.
Yeah, the ones that when you do, they don't get out.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Because if it bleeds, it leads. This goes all the way back to people don't want to hear the feel good stories.
Oh yeah.
They want to hear the dirt.
No human interest. I want
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I want
My
the bad
speech
stuff.
class, and this was back in 2005 in college. The number one phrase was no news is good news.
No news is good news.
I mean, people want the bad stuff. They want the shit that happens. They want to see somebody making a fool of themselves.
Do you remember when the news was on 3 times a day?
Yes,
Yeah.
That was it.
I do.
Yeah.
And they still had trouble filling they would still replay stories.
It was all the same story
from
over and
evening to
over
morning.
because they reported the news.
Internet versus God, motherfucker.
Objectivity is a funny thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think that's necessarily only true in that aspect. I think the switch. I think there was a switch when television news came, as opposed to only newspapers
I think
reporting news.
just medium in general.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
If you think about, over the past 150 years, we've gone from literally nothing in terms of communication, other than a dude on a horse, to being able to instantly.
The British
Do you
are
guys
coming.
believe that we are in a technology revolution?
Yeah, it's
I
been
think
going on
The
for.
third revolution of which is technology based.
I think that started probably 10, 15 years ago.
Longer. I see it longer ago than that. But totally.
I think we're about ready to get into
Interconnectivity.
Yeah.
AI is going to spark a different.
AI is going to go nuts.
How does God fare at the end of the technology revolution? We all know there's
That's a
an
good
ending
question.
point to the industrial revolution.
Can I ask-
We all know about these things. So I'm asking, in a real sense, none of what we're talking about matters. There's 4 people in this room with 4 different religious thoughts.
Yeah.
And guess what? You go back to the same group of people and get into your mob mentality, and there's a church of 100 versus Joel Osteen's church of 1,000 or whatever the fuck it is. And guess what? 1,000, my God's right. 100, my God's right. Who wins? Now, let's talk about
Nobody.
how many gods here. How many
hey.
gods are in this country? How many people are anti-God in this country?
Settle
and
down.
there's another division.
Are you talking about God's little g?
No, I'm talking about the derivative. I think God is in everyone's brain
I'm going to say
because
what
it's taught.
I'm going to say what Marshall McLuhan said in the 70s.
Can I keep going?
Hold on. The medium is the message.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I would say when you say God, I
Medium's
think
the best.
within this country there's only probably, unless you're polytheistic, there's 2 or 3 gods that everybody has the same definition. It's the same God, but it's a different
Abrahamic
ideology.
religions are all.
It's a different ideology.
How many people that accept God would accept just a different translation of it, like Allah?
I think Allah just means God.
Oh, but how many people in this country know that? Are you smarter than a fifth?
I think the people that call
You already
Allah,
talked about the dumbing down of America.
No shit.
You know the answer to that
No
question.
shit.
I would say the people that
Again, society
that
can't
worship
handle it.
Allah know Allah as God. That is God. Do they recognize Jesus the same way? No, Jesus is a messenger of Muhammad in that religion.
Whose language came first? The people who had it as Allah or any of those? or the one that we have here?
The Arabic came way before the English.
I am only asking questions.
No, you were.
Abrahamic
You know
sounds
what's
way
interesting is
long
you're
ago.
talking about gods. Like tomorrow's Diwali. Does anybody know what
Yeah.
Diwali is?
Yes.
Diwali's tomorrow.
I love that sandwich. No, I'm kidding. It's a beautiful celebration.
It's a great celebration, and
Yeah.
it's for two goddesses, Lakshmi and the one that I can't remember.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Nailed it. Good reference.
Shiva, thank you.
We got Lakshmi and the other one.
I love
He's
Diwali
got it.
week because at
Diwali's awesome.
UCM I had a bunch of
Yeah.
Indian students and they would dress up. It was a big celebration.
It
It's really
is.
cool.
And
Our culture's cool.
I work in IT, so
Yeah, me too.
I'm around a lot of
Yeah.
people from India,
Yeah.
and their weddings last like a week.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
like
months.
Oh, yeah.
and the
a
pageantry
party.
of it, and just the
All the different saris and
majesty all that
outfits
stuff,
and
it's
yeah.
just so cool, and I love that stuff. And that's, I think, again, this going back to God. All these these are things that create. And I'm going to say creator because I do believe that God is a creator. He. I just said he. I'm trying to get away from that. God.
Patriarchy, man.
I know. God is the creator of everything that the universe knows. And I'll throw this in for just another episode down the road. I think there's other intelligent life in this universe, right? And
I think you would be stupid not to think that with the trillions of
Right.
possibilities.
Economy of
that are out there.
scale problem. Yeah,
our,
definitely.
In our human, like small human
Can we get there? No.
We're,
Not yet.
we're like,
Never.
well, they obviously
about
don't
that.
know God. I'm like, how? That's
I just don't
idiotic.
know.
Okay,
Yeah,
hang on,
no, I
hang on,
agree,
hang on.
agree.
I'm trying to listen to you, and Chuckle Nuts and you are over here having a
That's
technology
all right.
discussion
It's
about
Mom
how
and Dad.
far we can come.
Mom and
You
Dad.
want to address Dyson spheres? That's a god.
I would say probably 5-6 feet.
Find a galaxy with a Dyson sphere around it. That's a god.
I'm just saying that if there are other intelligent life forms in this universe, which I believe there are, and I agree with
The
you.
statistics say there.
There
There has to be.
there
There's
has to be.
1 out of a trillion that we are. I get that we are an anomaly, but there should be
Are we the
multiple
smartest ones?
and even discovered anomalies that
Maybe.
resemble Earth are out there that we have.
created by whatever created us, created that.
Okay, can we get a wrap?
I was going to say.
this episode.
I want to
tell
ask.
you,
No,
it's
you
so
hate this
divisive.
episode.
It's
Dave
so
is
divisive.
the man with this. I want to ask you
Hold
one
on.
question. Okay.
So-
yeah, sure.
Like Ken-Zee just said, he hates this. I think we can continue this for a part 2. So
I like
will
it.
you come back for a part 2?
Hell yeah.
Can I finish it with one question and you
Oh,
hit the
no.
music?
It's not
Do you
gonna
have?
be-
No, we're not doing that yet.
Yeah.
You don't
Can
have to
I-
be here for part 2.
Maybe easier to go to bullet points without you here.
Brian,
for
go
part
ahead with
two.
your question.
I want to know, do you think, I'm speaking specifically in Earth's context,
Okay.
okay? We have all these different faith-based,
Right.
ideas with deities and
Right.
even going back thousands of years. Do you think that they're all a derivative of the same essential faith?
Ooh.
I would say 2.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I say 2.
That's kind of that's where I lean to, because if you look
Do you
at,
think it's the same or?
I think it's the same. Only because I think Well, I mean, you could probably make an argument for Eastern versus Western, the structure of those religions, but I would still say that most of the stories.
It's still under. Yeah. Most
still these, like-
most major organized religions on the planet Earth have a story of a flood, a historic flood.
Yeah.
Most
Correct.
of them do.
Yeah, so that's
So,
what
I mean, there's
It's
some
like
ideology, but I would
Gilgamesh,
say
which is earlier.
if you could really break it down, I would say there's 2. You have the monotheistic, the polytheistic.
Polytheistic.
Because the polytheistic goes into a whole lot of other, you have Ra, the sun god, which explains, but then you have God who created the
see, my
sun.
response to you would be, how do you consolidate the idea of pantheism in that? Because we can say that, like, I'll use Greek
Mm-hmm.
gods, they were really like kind of patterned off of the pagan faith, which was their
Correct.
gods of things.
It's all derivatives of things
Like
that they
God
know.
of fire,
That's
God
what
of
they
water,
think.
God of
These
the
are
sun.
all
Like,
gods of
exactly,
things
that's what I'm
they can
saying.
See, because you can't.
Well, same with Egyptian.
So now, Ra, absolutely. That's
So-
what I mean. Is like it's hard to come up with this either a single god or
then-
multiple
I
gods.
mean, you have, like,
when pantheism is essentially the modern combination of those two ideas.
Then you have like the Anunnaki, which kind of resemble angels in a way.
Aliens.
Aliens, angels. I
I'm
mean,
just saying.
I'm going to throw back to an old school Cheers episode.
I still agree too.
here. because what we're talking about is just differences of how people make their religion their own, right? And so back when Woody's character, Woody and Kelly were getting married, and Woody came in. He was so dejected because he couldn't get married to Kelly because they were a different religion.
What are you talking about?
I thought you were both Lutheran. Well, she's
Synod.
She's ELCA, and I'm Missouri Synod.
Are you just as lost as I am, Ken-Zee?
Boomer.
I don't know Ken-Zee or I have no idea.
Cheers.
You guys never heard of Cheers?
Oh, I have watched Cheers.
Just
I have.
Thoughts and prayers.
So, my last question that I have for everybody: do you need to be religious to be in politics?
No.
Why does everybody who's in yes, I'm with him. Why does everybody in politics, from Trump, Pelosi, all of them, claim to be highly religious?
Because religion has a shit ton of money, and they spend it on politics.
Yeah, you can.
So you need to be religious
I think
to be in politics.
You have to feign religion. I mean, Trump is selling Bibles.
By the way, how many people
he's
are
holding
allowed
them
to print
upside
those?
down and everything? But I don't think
Corinthians 1 is the one I like the most.
Okay.
So with that being said, you do need to be religious to be in
Very
politics.
Trumpian.
Because you need the money that politics bring in.
I think that's why, yeah.
And this brings up my last question.
Okay.
Should religion be tax-free? It's a choice. It's not a mandatory. It's not.
We should probably save the meat of that for the next episode.
We can do that.
Can
I'd be
I
good
ask
with
a
that.
question?
Oh God.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I
said, "Oh God," intentionally.
Yeah.
I think some of some of them should be, as long as the money that they're bringing in is going toward a greater
But that can be done in
purpose.
tax write-offs
Instead
of a
which
blanket.
fine, however they do it.
So
That's
think
fine.
about it that way. That
Fair
it could be a write-off instead of a just
Fair
blanket
enough.
zero tax.
Speaking as a guy,
How much do they give out compared to what they bring in?
I was in our finance committee at church for like 2 years, so yeah. It was nice not having to pay taxes.
I guess I lied. I don't have a question. I have a final thought though.
All right, Brian, final thought.
Well, you're
coming up next.
I'm
I know.
done.
I just love how it was.
Hey, we're just going around the room.
No, I liked our rapid fire, like switching between topics, because there's a lot of things to talk about. And we obviously, I think the one thing we found out empirically now is that there's definitely enough meat on the bone for at least one more episode and probably multiples. But my final thought is I just want to thank Dave for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you,
Appreciate
Dave.
your ideas and appreciate your experience and the humility to openly say that everything's change, and I see things in my life, and I learn things about people, and it's a good example for people like me, kind of. And I that's not a slam on my family that's religious, but my perception of religion has always been people that just dig their heels in, and they don't really care about the real world. It's all about my perception of what this says, and if you're doing anything that I perceive as different, then that's wrong, and that's a very refreshing take, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.
Ken-Zee.
I feel like there are a lot of opinions that kick in when you talk about God.
Certainly.
And politics.
Shit.
My dad, not the most religious. H and a lot of worse words were usually Jesus' middle name, if you will. So what my dad did teach me, though, is when you have opinions, they're kind of like assholes. It's best if you keep that shit to yourself.
We all have them, and they all stink.
And if you're going to expose it, do it with those close enough that you love to have a conversation like this, where 4 people can get together and
safe, 'cause that's
sit
how you
at the
catch a
same
case.
table and not fight.
That's how you get pink eye.
Definitely pink eye.
There's so many butthole jokes coming from this, but I guess I'm not trying to call God an asshole because I believe in him, but at the same time I feel smited by people. The problem, in my opinion, because of opinions, where someone's opinion has to be louder than mine, and unfortunately, if you're a small business owner, the customer's always right.
I'm going to follow up my final thought with what he said. I don't think, there is some failures within religion, but I think the main cause of a lot of those failures is the people within it that follow it, that make it their own, that use it as a negative towards others.
Cudgel.
It's just that cudgel.
It's great. I mean, it's great.
That
perspective.
It's what it is.
And so, Dave, take it out with your final thought?
First of all, thanks for having me. And
Absolutely.
I'm excited to come back.
Absolutely.
And I love that four of us have very differing opinions on very controversial and hard to discuss topics. Mm-hmm. And we can respect each other's point of view. Probably learned a little bit from each other tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can walk out of here feeling good about what we did, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And I hope the people that are listening take a little bit from what we are doing here and spread this into the world, because this is what Jesus did. He had a relationship with one person. He went up to the woman at the well. He went to the leper. He went and he spoke to people and just demonstrated his love for them and asked them to go out and demonstrate their love for others. And I'm really bad at that. I'm getting better every day. But you know what? We are so divided right now, and it's sad. It's very sad to see what's going on in our country right now. And I'm not talking about anything other than just the vitriol and the conflict and all of the just animosity that the teams have for one another.
Yeah.
And unless we change that, we're in trouble.
Yeah, be civil, man.
I could have said it better myself. So hopefully, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And hopefully you come back.
I will.
And
you guys got beer?
Well,
We do.
Actually, you know what? Funny anecdote. I noticed 4 guys with 4 different opinions on God all bonded over 95% of mine, motherfuckers.
Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wrap it.
Cheers, Brian.
Wrap it, dude.
Speaking of God, he is now